It seems like every few months, Persona 4 Remake becomes a topic for discussion. Whether it's fan-made concepts, or actual potential evidence that a remake could be happening, or just baseless speculation on things that may ruin the artistic vision of the game if it's remade. It feels like Persona 4 becomes a topic for discussion every few weeks to months. And this time, it's... The main reason Persona 4 Remake is a topic of discussion right now is because of Shihoko Hirata, the singer for Persona 4's OST. She posted a photo on Instagram that people somehow traced to being the same studio that Sega and ATLUS record Persona and Sega soundtracks from. So that must be a slam dunk, right? I mean, no reason to think otherwise? Wrong. I think we're jumping the gun a bit here.
I guess this is what people call jumping the gum.
Jumping the gun.
It's not impossible for this to be related to Persona 4, but this studio has been used to record for other projects. That said, it is wholly possible it is for a P4 remake. They would be assumedly re-recording a bunch of P4's OST, so it's not as hard as coming up with a brand new OST. But at the same time, it's not a guarantee that this is for Persona 4. It's not like all she does is Persona 4 music. This could easily be for a spin-off that contains the cast of P4, or even just not for Persona at all. And I feel like it's a bit early for Persona 4 Remake. Reload just came out last year, and even if it did finish in 2022, and they were just localizing, I don't know when they would have greenlit Persona 4 Remake. But really, this discussion about what it is kind of ends there. ATLUS has been pretty quiet for the past 6 to 8 months, and on the Persona series probably even longer, because outside of Persona 5 The Phantom X, there is nothing on the horizon for Persona, as far as we officially know. As per things that we can speculate about, it's pretty much guaranteed Persona 6 is in the works, that's coming eventually. And as for Persona 4...
Dude, I have to say, I was really hoping for your help on this.
So, I've discussed the Persona 4 remake in the past. It, I think is a long time ago. And I firmly believe this is another, not if, but when situation. I know a lot of people want and don't want Persona 4 to get a remake, but no matter which side you're on, it's truly only a matter of time before ATLUS remakes this game. And I figured because of that, and since we are discussing Persona 4 Remake right now, we could talk a bit more on the discussions of the potential for the game. So, essentially, baseless speculation. That's always fun, because everyone loves that. And since we are talking about Shihoko Hirata and Persona 4, there is a heavy possibility of a lot of re-recording of old tracks. Granted, none of the existing Persona 4 OST sounds bad, and if they were reused, it truly wouldn't bother me that much. I honestly don't think Persona 4 needs a lot of changes on the music side. Golden does a pretty good job at adding tracks to new events and whatnot. Honestly, it wouldn't bother me if a ton of changes were not made in the end. That said, if they do remake the whole game, it's very likely that ATLUS would remake the music as well. They could technically add songs here and there, but that's really not so easy to predict. One take I did see someone say was that they better not add music to the rainy days, as that is a major part of Persona 4's aesthetic and artistic vision. And honestly, I agree. It will wholly depend on how they implement it, if at all. But I think adding music to the rainy days ultimately will detract from the atmosphere that the rain and bad weather is supposed to bring in P4, because it's a sign of bad things to come, typically. Regardless, overall, Persona 4's existing OST is fine as is. Adding songs here and there might be nice. I think things like a new OP and a new vocal night theme might be neat, but even the night theme in P4 is still pretty good. I can't really imagine them changing it, though it's entirely possible.
Rule 1, be myself. Rule 2, get people to understand me.
With the release of episode Aegis, there were some notable changes, or slightly notable changes, to how the characters are presented and written. It's not necessarily that they have different personalities, but some of the characters who acted either brashly or were criticized openly online for a long time wound up taking a good toning down. Yukari is a decent example of this. There are also some incidents with Junpei when the team is deciding what to do. My point is that I don't know if online criticism was a factor in this, but it certainly does feel like it. And it's in my opinion, a fundamental misunderstanding of what those characters are going through. But I don't want to get too much into P3 spoilers here, so, you know. During that time where Yukari's character got a lot of backlash, the Answer's reputation also took a nosedive as well, despite a lot of people never playing it at all. And I think that's an even bigger concern for people with Persona 4. This game pops up in other controversies about its character writing almost weekly. And I can't tell if it's a American side thing, or if it also happens on the Japanese side. I don't really care, because I don't totally agree with all the criticisms. This game's characters and writing are absolutely a product of its time. I'm not saying you have to preserve every aspect that exists in the original game. Some of the jokes are kind of not really funny, and can be seen as tasteless nowadays. That said, I would deeply prefer if a majority of the game just remained unchanged. Refining the script is acceptable, but dumbing it down will only hurt the characters in the process. Persona 4's unending online controversy is just something I really hope isn't taken too deeply into consideration when the remake is being developed. For reference, there are definitely moments that I think are a bit out of touch with current audiences, but some of it is definitely content that does not need alteration. There are some things that can be added that were a part of the game during development that could enhance the characters, but removing a lot of dialogue and heavily altering it could wind up damaging the character writing that has been done here. And in my opinion, that writing is still really good. I'm trying to touch on all this without mentioning exactly what I'm talking about, so I'm basically just gonna start talking in circles, so we're gonna kind of put a pin in it here. I wholly understand that people do have issues with the way the characters are presented and some of the messaging from the way the characters are presented. But at the same time, I think it's partially looking for something that's not totally there, and also just a confusion because of how P4's story is presented and how reveals happen closer to the end of the game rather than when information is being presented to you. Anyways, like I said, put a pin in it, I'm talking in circles.
Came here after eating the steak skewers.
I spoke about this before as well, but to reiterate, I really hope that Persona 4 Remake keeps all of the content from Golden, brings it to the remake. I don't want this is vanilla P4 and Marie will be DLC. Unlike Episode Aegis, which always was a separate menu option, not including Marie and the Golden content would be like ATLUS not incorporating Aegis' social link into Reload. It would be nice to use Persona 4 Golden, the animations versions of the new Hangouts, where Marie is actually involved in them, as it would enhance her character and make her feel more cohesive to the group. Also, we're gonna hit a major spoiler right here, so I'm gonna, you can skip ahead to the prompted next chapter, I suppose. We'll give you like 3 seconds. Okay. It would be neat if Marie could be a party member for the final dungeon. Just a thought, but it's not necessary. It would be cool. I don't know if it really makes any sense, but I'm just saying. You know, in the credits for P4, we get her with Kaguya, so I'm kind of trying to grab that. Anyways, I doubt we get any additional content beyond that, aside from maybe a few new hangouts and perhaps some new optional things to do at night. But even P3's remake, with all the time you have at night because of the removal of the tired system, they didn't really add anything to the night slots. Nothing insane anyways, so this also is just generally wishful thinking, but if ATLUS is going the DLC route, it would be cool if we got Arena or Arena Ultimax's story as a DLC episode. Just a thought. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that's insane, but hey, you know, it would make Arena's story more accessible to other people, you know, people who don't like fighting games. However, it would also neuter the purpose of buying Persona 4 Arena, which is a whole different game, and I'm sure ATLUS is hoping that a Persona 4 remake will allow them to kind of cash out more on Arena as well. I think there was kind of a big reaction to the fact that P3 Reload didn't use as much anime cutscenes, or as many anime cutscenes, and wound up using a lot of 3D CG ones. As for me, I personally felt like it was kind of an overreaction. And a part of that feeling is me definitely having a preference for the 3D CG stuff. And the other part is just me thinking it doesn't look that bad. People really have their specific preferences with Persona 3. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to have. I think if you like the anime cutscenes and you like the way it's presented, that's fine. But for me personally, I was like, the 3D CG looks fine. I like it, and I don't know, I just don't have a problem with it. Either way, whether this remake uses more anime cutscenes over 3D CG or not is not a facet I'm particularly picky about. Metaphor actually had a lot of anime cutscenes, which was surprising to me. But it's totally up to the team, as it would likely be the team that developed P3 Remake developing P4 Remake. As for the English VAs, I think it's more arguable on whether this cast returns versus P3's. I personally do not think it's a bad thing to invite new VAs to take over old roles, especially as the voice actors are getting older. You should remember that Persona 4's original dub was recorded in, like, probably 2006, 7? Probably about 2007 to 2008. And then they, added stuff in 2012. And then you move on to the spin-offs. Things get a little bit dicey because you can't get certain voice actors back, and some of them you can get back. Laura Bailey didn't return as Rise in the dancing games, which, is what it is. At some point, Troy Baker was replaced with Matthew Mercer for Kanji, I think. I mean, you got a bunch of them back for Persona 4, or for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which was really cool. That said, it wouldn't surprise me if they did go the route of replacing them. As people get older, sometimes you have to pass the torch eventually. That all being said, I wouldn't mind keeping the same voice cast, as it's the cast that I know, but it really wouldn't surprise me if the remake has a new voice cast.
Anytime, any place, I'm gonna bust right through as my own self.
It is, in some aspects, truly difficult to care about a remake that doesn't exist yet, or doesn't officially exist. I see it as my concerns about it, just what I'm mentioning here, is kind of just there, I don't know what the remake looks like. I don't have any feelings towards it because it does not exist in our minds. It might exist to people at ATLUS, they're working on it in a meaningful way. It doesn't really matter right now. We are essentially speculating about a project that almost 100% exists, but we know nothing about. And to be blunt, what evidence do we have? We know that Shihoko Hirata is working on new songs for a new game. We do not have evidence for anything else beyond that. Yes, she is liking Persona 4 related replies. That could imply something, but that doesn't prove anything. Anyways, whether Persona 4 Remake comes to life soon or later, I hope the game is just as good as people want it to be. I hope not a lot of changes from P4G to P4R happen, and I hope that the game delivers the experience we're expecting. Very general corporate schlop statements because I don't know anything about this. But you can let me know what you think about the potential of Persona 4 Remake in the comments down below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Persona, ATLUS, and JRPG related. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Yo, we got really close that time. Don't worry, Patty, it's fine.